as I went into this meeting, I watched it through YouTube. The connection was very spotty at the beginning. They had a lot of trouble connecting. There was some issues with the video. The video was lagging way behind, so it wasn't keeping up with everything that was going on in the meeting. I could hear the audio just fine for a while. At one point, the audio cut out in the middle of the meeting, about an hour through, and I couldn't hear anything. I had to activate the audio again myself. Um, but I think besides those issues, the online platform for YouTube works very well. It was well put together. The camera angle was perfectly fine. I could see all of the board attendees. I could see everyone that was speaking, at least from the back, and I could see all the presentations that were presented via slide. That was very well put together. Um, One of the things, the meeting opened up basically with comments from the public. These comments were taken at an earlier date, whether it was via email or via public service that someone had posted on, and this presented issues for me personally. I understand that we are going through a pandemic. There is a lot going on in the world right now, and there was a lot of comments about sports, which maybe people just started saying, "Hey, we're complaining way too much about education, and there's not really anything going on about it anyway. So let's see if we can complain about something else." But it did feel very lopsided as far as that goes. A lot of people going towards the sports for their children. And where I do understand that sports open a certain avenue for people to communicate, we can have similar avenues open in the classroom itself. Um, but that was an interesting meeting topic. They discussed the reintroduction of sports and opening up to students so that they may have access to certain extra curricular activities. Seems like a pretty bad idea to me personally with exposure rates. Um, Not saying I don't love sports or think that they're great extracurricular activities for students. I think they're amazing. They provide a lot of opportunities for them, whether that be a scholarship or whatever it may be. But that was the main focus. They were focusing on seniors this year not being able to participate in the sports that they need to participate in to maybe get a scholarship or have the opportunities or connection with other students that they might get from participating in those sports. Um, it was an interesting point. Yeah. The issue that I see with it again is the focus on further exposure in athletics, where getting kids into the classroom should probably be the focus for me. The academics seem more important to me than the extracurricular at this point. We don't even have kids going into classrooms yet on a regular basis, and we're already talking about trying to get them into their sports, which could or could not expose them in certain ways, which we are trying to prevent. And I just think that that's something we need to establish and look into a little further. And the board did agree to look into it further. They're talking about non-contact sports so that they may um, look at the effects on students and see who would be affected by what the exposure rates are going to be, what with a non-contact, there's less exposure for sure, but we are looking at exposure to a certain rate. They were talking mainly about cross country and about track and field. They were basically saying that water sports were out of the question. There's no way to uh, mediate or try to resolve any issues with wearing masks or keeping distance or exposure through other means when involving water sports. So that was basically a no, but they were talking about how tennis might be opening up and things like that. But then they were also talking about debate and other extracurriculars like that were more academic leaning and debate. And we're talking that could be a real possibility, which I think would be good. But again, we're opening exposure rates. Even though it is more academic, it's not exactly the academic that we are looking for in this case. Um, Overall, the experience of the meeting was kind of lackluster for me. I think with the current conditions of COVID and everything going on in the world right now, it's kind of creating this hostile meetings and environment that is really not a fun thing to be a part of. It feels like almost everyone that's involved in decision making processes in districts is being um, attacked in a sense to where they they are trying to force these board members into thinking the way that they think, and I don't think that's the way it works. Um, so yeah, the experience was somewhat daunting with all the added COVID discussion and argumentation from outside sources. It felt as if uh, people were placing blame where it need not be placed. There was obviously a limited amount of uh, attendee participation, as most in attendance were vetted school staff, and all comments were from previously received emails and communications. I know there was a coach that was expressing his opinion on the matters, and he is a valid source, and I think he could provide a really good opinion. But again, he did seem like he was swaying one direction or the other when it came to decisions on the matter. Districts are definitely in a tight position right now, and they understand the high stress and depression students are facing. They are monitoring all situations to determine the best outcome for our students. As a district that I hope to one day work for, I think they're doing everything they can for their students and staff. And the only thing that we can do as parents or people can do as parents is try to support that staff. They're doing everything that they possibly can to make sure that these students are having an education that they deserve, even with the current conditions. So I think that's something we need to look at and monitor as we go forward, and to be aware of these people are doing everything that they can. So all in all, I enjoyed the experience to a point, but it was daunting at times.